Have you guys ever wondered if buying a big brake kit is worth your money? Well, we have two, so we're gonna test stock brakes and Power Brake big brake kit, and we're gonna try them out and let you know what's worth your money. Almost ran out of tape. So we're gonna test these brakes from 80 kilometers an hour down to nothing, and we're gonna see how big of a difference these really make. I know you've looked at them before, and they're not cheap. So we want to find out what kind of performance you really gain from using these big brake kits. We're stopping at the same cone, same spot, and we're gonna do this 3 times and see our results. So here we go. That's 60, 80. You can feel the ABS kicking on. We're going front wheel to front wheel, so just gonna put that cone right there, and then we're gonna pull out the measuring tape. This is a 100-foot tape, and we're right at 98 feet right there. So 98-foot stopping distance first try. Let's do it 2 more times just so we have a good average, and we'll find out. We'll put the big brakes on. Cone, brake. It's a good stop. Ollie's just gonna move our cone so we can measure. 87 feet and 5 inches. So that's a big improvement without doing anything. That's why we're doing it 3 times. So let's do it 1 more time. All right, so we've done 2 tests now. One was at 98 feet even, and then the second one was 87 feet 5 inches. So that's why we're doing multiple, just so we have a good average. Backing up so I get a bit of a better run. Wait for these cars. Here we go. All right, so getting up to 80, 60, that one does not feel like it was as good, honestly. So I was just gonna move the cone, and then we're gonna measure it. 99 feet, 8 inches on that one, so that's the worst one yet. Should we do 1 more?
I think we should probably do 1 more.
I think we'll do 1 more. Yeah, all right, let's go. All right, so 4th go, and we hit wow, our best one yet, 85 feet, 4 inches. So, yeah, all right, so we have 2 in the 90s, like late 90s, and 2 in the high 80s.
85.4?
85 foot, 4 inches, yeah.
Boom, there we go.
All right, so let's get these big brakes on and come back and do it again. I think the big variation of like over 10 feet is mostly from my braking technique. So 2 of them, I just went foot to the floor, braked as hard as I could, and you feel the ABS going, and it lengthens your stopping time. Whereas on the other 2 that were shorter, I was trying to threshold brake, which is basically you're trying to brake at the maximum of what the tire can do without locking up, which also doesn't kick on ABS. So I increased my braking time by 10 feet just by pushing the pedal less hard, which seems counterintuitive, but it's because the ABS isn't kicking on, and what the ABS does is it actually lets that wheel roll instead of stopping it. So that's why it increases brake distance, but it doesn't let you lock up, which is how you lose control. So you know, there's trade-offs there, but I'll do that again next time when we have the bigger brakes on. I'll do 2 max braking, and then I'll do 2 kind of me trying to threshold brake, and we'll see what we get there. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but this truck is super heavy. So he wanted better braking performance, and this kit is supposed to be one of the best on the market as far as big brake kits go. So I'm gonna just kind of walk you through why. Obviously it's a big brake kit. Like, this is the stock rotor compared to the big brake kit rotor. Like, the size difference is insane. So that's pretty sick. Basically, what your brakes are doing is they're taking friction, turning it into heat, and then that heat they're just trying to get rid of. So a really cool feature of these upgraded rotors is that instead of having straight vanes for air, so air comes from the inside of the rotor and it comes out the outside, and that's what's pulling heat out of the rotor. So these are straight vaned. These are actually directional. So they are finned in a way that pulls way more air out of them. Another cool thing about them, they're slotted, not drilled. I don't like drilled rotors. Drilled rotors tend to crack. Pads these days don't off-gas like they used to. So you really don't need a drilled rotor, but having a slotted rotor still takes that small layer of pad off, so you're always braking on a fresh surface. So doing a slotted rotor like this is the way to go, in my opinion. And the last really cool thing I want to talk about with these rotors, like, we're talking about rotor features here. Rotors are rotors, it feels like, but something really cool is they have this heat temperature paint. So what happens is this paint, when you hit each temperature, each color is a different temperature rating, and what happens is the paint will turn black when you've hit that temperature. So then next time you go and do your brakes, you can see how hot you got your brakes and whether they're doing their job or not. So Power Brake actually makes a smaller brake kit as well that has the same feature on their D-line rotors, and if you run those and you're maxing them out all the time, you know it's time to go to a big brake kit like this. If you're maxing these out, unfortunately there's not probably a whole lot you can do about it, because these are about as big as it gets for the Tacoma. So getting onto the caliper, we have the stock caliper here, and then we have an upgraded caliper. We're actually doing gray. They have two colors, but the red is more shiny, so I'm gonna talk about these ones. So these are aluminum 6-piston calipers, and the cool thing about them, aside from them being way lighter and aluminum getting rid of heat way quicker, is that the 6 pistons are designed specifically for the master cylinder of the Tacoma. So I don't know if you can see, but basically the pistons are different sizes. The smaller pistons are gonna have higher pressure because they're a smaller surface area, plus less friction because they're smaller. So they're actually gonna close first, just by a little bit. But that gives you a more modular brake feel, because the whole pad isn't just clamping at once, they're kind of clamping like this. And that's gonna give you a more modular brake pedal feel, which is really cool. And then obviously 6 pistons is way better than the 4 that you come with on the stock rotors. And another really cool thing about this is they're all about the heat management. They have these temperature gauges built right into the caliper that show you how hot your caliper is, so you can always monitor your brake temperatures. I mean, you have to crawl into your truck to see it, but still, it's a really cool feature. So these brakes are awesome, designed specifically around the master cylinder for the truck they go in, and they're tuned specifically for that. Sometimes you throw a big brake kit in. A lot of people want to do the 4Runner brake upgrade, which gives you a little bit bigger rotor, caliper, all that stuff. The problem though is they're tuned for a 4Runner master cylinder. So the Tacoma master cylinder doesn't quite push enough fluid, and it gives you a really spongy brake pedal feel. These are not tuned like that. They're tuned for the master cylinder that comes on the truck. So the pedal feel is still really, really good. Plus they give you a ton more power. So we're gonna test exactly how much more power they give you as soon as we get these things installed. right, so we have our shipping scale here. Figure we might as well weigh these things and see the difference. So the stock caliper, we're at 13.8 pounds. And we go to this one, the upgraded one, 8.2 pounds. They're saving 5 pounds of unsprung weight on this guy, which is actually insane. That's gonna be a suspension performance upgrade too. So the install of the X-Line brakes is finished and we are doing a break-in right now. So typically Power Brake recommends that you do around 300 kilometers of just regular in-town driving to break your brakes in. Basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get like a layer of the brake pad onto the rotor and also get them all conformed perfectly so you have full contact. There's no like little gaps or anything. So I did talk to them because obviously we don't have time to drive around for 300 kilometers, and they gave me an accelerated break-in procedure that I can do just to get things up to up to spec so that we can test these properly, because we want to give them their best shot. Gonna do a bit of town driving just to get them sort of working, and then do like a sequence of stops and starts and stuff like that just to get them broken in properly, and then we can get on to testing after let the brakes cool down a little bit. Okay, so we've done all our break-in on the X-Line brakes. Everything's good. Let them cool down a bit so they're not crazy hot. And now we're gonna go in for our first jam session. Here we go, we're sitting on 80 kilometers an hour right there. And here we go. Okay, so that was full pedal to the metal. Just jammed on it, let the ABS kick in, all that. Yeah, next one I think I will try and do a bit better threshold braking, but let's see how she did. And we are at 83 foot 1. 83 feet 1 inch. So that's pretty good. That's the first go, just full pedal. So through the same thing last time, we were getting 98 feet and we're at 83 now. So it's pretty good. Right there, like that. Like, this is really improving braking distances even on ABS. The other thing that I should note is it is raining a little bit right now. So the conditions are actually worse than they were when we were doing our pre-baseline testing. So that is a score in favor of Power Brake. Whoa, so take two, we're down to 76 foot 3. So that's quite an improvement, honestly. Right. All right, what are we looking at? 78 foot 3. Bonus hit, one more threshold braking go, and we'll see what I can do. 180, and here we go. So straight up 85 feet. It is starting to rain though, so that is making it harder for sure. I don't know, I feel like I can get, I kind of just want to try one more. What was my best one? I want to see if I can do better than that.
76.3.
All right, I'm gonna try and beat that one more time just for fun. But it is getting wetter and colder, so I think that's playing a big part. But I'll make all the excuses I want. All right, here we go. Up to 80 right there. I feel like maybe I did a little better. Did I do it? 70! 70 foot 4. 70 foot 4, that is actually way better than I thought. I wonder if I maybe did 79 kilometers an hour. Cool. Well, let's wrap this thing up and final thoughts. All right, so we have finally finished testing. A few little things to mention. It started to rain lightly, but still there was moisture on the pavement for sure. And road temperatures were colder for sure. So that's gonna affect your braking distances if you're trying to be super scientific. But we're just trying to get a rough, distance. The only way you can really test this stuff is on a brake dyno, which we obviously don't have. Power Brake does test all their stuff on a brake dyno, but it's really nice to get a real world feel. And pedal feel is a really important thing for a lot of people. Stock pedal feel is stock. They're all kind of the same. They're a little firmer on the pedal, which is actually nice. They're a little bitier too, but you still have really good modulation. So the pedal feel, I'd give them an A+. They felt really great on the foot. So that was really cool. But what you all want to know is the braking distances. So stock brakes, we had a worst braking of 99'8", and we had a best braking of 85'4". So it makes a big difference whether I was just pushing the pedal all the way to the floor and just letting the ABS do its thing versus me trying to modulate and keep off of the ABS. When I stayed off the ABS, I decreased our braking by like 14 feet, which is a pretty big difference. So just getting better at braking is gonna make a difference. For sure, a pro driver or even somebody that just goes to the track a lot, probably gonna brake even better than me. But yeah, pretty big difference there. So on ABS, we're like 98 to 99, 100 feet. Off ABS, I was 85 to 87 feet. So yeah, pretty good range there, 85 being the best. When we swapped to the X line, we got them all broken in, bedded in, all that stuff. I crammed on the brakes, and when I just went full pedal to metal, kicked the ABS on, my worst was 85 feet. So 85 foot, and that was when it was starting to rain. My average on ABS was like 83 feet, which is already better than the best braking I could do with OEM brakes. But then we go to when I was trying to threshold brake, and I was getting 76 to 78 feet, which is a huge improvement. That's like a 9 to 10 foot improvement off of my best OE brakes. And then we did an extra bonus hit just because I wanted to see if I could get it down even further. And I was able to hit 70 foot 5 inches, which is like if you go from the worst OE one, which is like almost 100 feet, down to the best X-Line one, which is just over 70 feet, that's like a 30-foot braking distance difference, which is massive. So makes a big difference apparently, having these big brakes. But the thing is you ask anybody that is manufacturing or designing these big brakes, and the biggest difference isn't your stopping time in one go. The biggest difference is how it can get rid of the heat. And so where you're gonna see that difference is under long braking. So if you're coming down a mountain and you're on the brakes a lot more, and by the time you get to the bottom, you're starting to get fade and the braking distance is not as good, these will get rid of heat way faster, way more efficiently, and you'll still have good brakes by the bottom of the hill. Obviously, you're spending a lot for these kits, but if you're set up with a huge, we got a rooftop tent, we got an awning, we got water tank, we got these storage things. He's got a big drawer system in the back. He's got a bumper with a spare. He's got bigger tires, bumpers, all this stuff. And even inside, there's a bunch of stuff. It's all adding weight, and your braking is getting worse and worse and worse. So these are gonna help a lot if you are into driving your truck. So really stoked on this test. It was really fun to do. It was really interesting, honestly, and I'm very surprised that we were able to, dump 20 feet off of our score, like 15 feet at the best and 30 feet at the worst. So Yeah, pretty insane. So thanks so much for watching, guys, especially all the way to the end. I know that most people don't do that. Yeah, thanks so much. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. I learned a ton from this test. Hopefully you did too. And if there's more things you want to see us test, put it in the comments and we'll get after it. All right, bye.